Hello, in this tutorial I'll show you how to create nice, crisp coastlines for your randomly generated fantasy maps in GIMP and Inkscape. So to begin with, we're going to create our random noise, then we're going to use the threshold tool in GIMP to turn that into a coastline, and then we're going to import that image into Inkscape, which will turn the bitmap into a vector file, which then is going to be all nice vectorized and nice and crisp. So to start off, let's create a new file inside of GIMP, and I'm going to go with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. So it's a high resolution but nothing crazy. So you don't, like for example, if you're doing maps usually in GIMP, you'd want to have your resolution to be really high so you can fit in a lot of details. Resolution is not such a big deal if you're vectorizing it, since resolution is only a raster concept. So to begin with, let's generate our noise. So to do that, let's go to Filters, Render, Noise, Solid Noise, and then here you can see this is not really ideal to create a map. So let's increase the detail up to 15. Which is the maximum amount of detail which we can have in GIMP. And then you see the map looks like, well, not a map yet, but the height map, the noise we've generated, looks like it's a little bit stretched on the x-axis. And the reason why is since our canvas isn't square, then there's some warping going on. So in order to fix that, we have to unlink our x size and our y size in our solid noise panel, like this, and set our y size to be equal to precisely 2.25. Now this is only good for 16 by 9 aspect ratio, so if your canvas is not 16 by 9, you're going to have to calculate your x size and y size yourself. So just the general principle is if you take your x size and your y size, they need to be in a ratio of 16 to 9. If your aspect ratio is 16 to 9, if your aspect ratio is 4 to 3, your x size to y size has to be 4 to 3. So we're going to just use the random seed 0, detail 15, looks all good, so press OK. And now we need to turn this height map into a coastline map. So the way to do that is we go to Colors up here and go down to Threshold. And you see automatically our noise map has been turned into black and white coastline, or rather a black and white map. And for this tutorial, I'm going to be assuming that black is land. So what I'm going to do is this bar right here is going to essentially change what our sea level is. So let's decrease this down to a point where there's some landmass that looks interesting enough to use. I'm liking this little cluster of islands here, so I'm just going to adjust this until it's something that looks nice. I think maybe 78. 78 looks pretty good, so let's press OK. And now what we should do is we should crop this zone out, because this is the only section of the map we're going to be using. So in order to do that, we need to go Tools, Transform Tools, and then go to Crop, or press Shift-C, and then just select the part of the map you want to use, and that looks good. We're not missing anything, are we? Okay, we've got all that. Just click, then it's all cropped. So the next thing we need to do is make sure we zoom in and take a look at the finer details in the map. Now you see how there's all this pixelation here? This might create some problems inside of Inkscape, because it might want to try and recreate these steps here. So in order to fix that, we need to go to Filters, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and what this will do is it'll blur our coastlines a little bit, so that way those steps aren't as apparent in Inkscape's rasterization. So now I can just adjust this to a point which is good, so I think 0.5 looks good. Maybe 1? I think 1 is good. So press OK, and this is our map. So I'm going to export this map as a PNG, and okay, so go to Export As, and I'm going to save this as tutorial map .png. Leave all these pictures as they are and export. And I'll see you over in Inkscape. Okay, we're over in Inkscape and it's now time to import the map we had from GIMP. So let's go to import, and I had it in my documents. Here it is. And all these settings right here, we want to set this to smooth. Okay, so here's our map right here, and let's drag it over into the center of our canvas. And now all we have to do is go to Path, Trace Bitmap, press Update, and we can see that our map looks good. We want to decrease our colors to 2, just black and white. Press Update, press OK. So now we can see we have our vector version of our map and our raster version of our map, which we imported from GIMP. So we can delete the raster version of our map, and with our vector version, I'm going to set the X and Y to 0 respectively, and then I'm going to go to Documents, Properties, and I'm going to resize the page to content. So what this is, we have all this extra space in our canvas and we don't really need this. So we can just resize to drawing or selection, and I'll just give a margin of, say, 1 millimeter in all directions. Close, and now we have our nice map down here. So you could stop right here, you've got your map, but what I'd like to do is, instead of having our simple black blocks, we can go to Fill and Stroke and make it so this is just an outline. So for fill, we're going to press this No Paint X, and it's going to disappear. Then in Stroke Paint, we can say Solid, and now we have a nice outline of our map. So if you want to change what the size is of your outline, you can go to Stroke Style, and you can adjust the width to what you want. So I think maybe 0.5, no, that's too thick, 0.25, 0.1, so you can just adjust that. I think 0.1 looks good. And the final thing we need to do is set our cap to be rounded. One of these, rounded, there we go. So set join to rounded, so to prevent, so if our join isn't rounded, we have these nasty little points here, we want that to be rounded. And there we go, we have our map. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next tutorial. If you have any questions, just ask in the comments and I'll be happy to help. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, so you can be notified of new GIMP, Inkscape, and Unity tutorials in the future. Bye, see you in the next video.